What's up, guys? Okay, we are live. Oh, happy 2025, everybody. It's good to be back. I've been away for a little while. It's been almost 2 months since I've done a live. For good reason. I needed a personal retreat. I needed a little winter hibernation. It's been fantastic. I'll update you guys more about what I've been up to and what's going on in my life. But before that, we're going to get into the topic at hand. I'm already getting the question, what's my hair routine? I wash it, I put a little product in it, and I go about my day. But the real key is to extract the semen of a rare species of horse that's known to a few people. So I can't give you that information. Um, Guys, I want to talk about how to master your sexual energy in 2025. Oh, what a fantastic year. A lot of potential. Officially, as of yesterday, Lunar New Year. And here we are in a brand new year. So, anyways, let's get into it. Oh, first of all, I need to announce a couple things. Number one, I have a free training next Friday, Orgasmic Olympian. It's going to be epic. You're going to learn basically all about the sexual kung fu system, how to train yourself to last as long as you want in bed, have non-ejaculatory orgasms, and have endless stamina in the bedroom, plus a lot more. So check that out. There's a link in this YouTube video description. There's a link on my Instagram bio. Sign up for that. It's free, but spaces will be limited. And I'm also excited to announce an upcoming live workshop here in Asheville that I'll be leading. It's going to be April 5th and 6th. I'm going to be leading a weekend workshop, 2 days on sexual kung fu. I just confirmed the booking of the space, so I don't have the registration page set up, but it will be coming soon. But what you can do is get on the waitlist, retreat workshop waitlist. I put a link to that in this YouTube video. So you'll be the first. The people on the wait list will be the first to know how to register for that, basically. So with that, let's get into it. Okay, so first of all, in order to master your sexual energy, you need to understand, what is this thing? What is your sexual energy? And beyond what most people's relationship is to their sexual energy, which is, well, it's something that feels nice when I get this urge and then I gotta like do something and scratch an itch, but really it's beyond that. So your sexual energy is potentially, I'll say potentially, it's your most powerful creative energy. It can be. Most people just waste it. Most people suppress it, or they overindulge in reckless ways and waste it. But when you work with it properly, when you work with it harmoniously, this is your most powerful energy you have available. And the path of sexual cultivation is about going beyond just sexual pleasure. And that's fine. There's nothing wrong with sexual pleasure, but it's about more than just that. It's about more than just like getting off. And it's about harnessing this vast store of potential energy to do whatever you want with it, basically. Because this is an extremely important thing right now. This is a form of energy that can be cultivated, it can be expressed, it can be channeled to supercharge your life. Here's the most important thing, the most obviously important and powerful and maybe enticing aspect of your sexual energy is the ability of it to amplify things, to multiply things, to turn something on, right? So what happens when you're aroused? Something down there grows. It gets, something's happening. It's expansive. What does orgasm feel like? It feels incredible. The quality of this can be applied to anything in your life, to turn it on, to expand it, to intensify it. And this is extremely important because right now, people are, in general, I think we could safely say that the human species is more lost, more confused, more imbalanced, maybe than any other time in history, at least what we've recorded. And that's why these practices are so important. That's why I'm so passionate about sharing this stuff with you guys. It's like I could be content just to like have my own thing and like, not share it with the world. But well, no, I wouldn't be content because I know the world needs this. That's why I'm so passionate about this, is because when you go on this journey of sexual cultivation, it transforms you at a core level. It transforms every aspect of your body, your mind, your spirit. And this is the biggest issue people have. One of the biggest, there's many, but one common struggle of humanity right now is the inability to, what's how to phrase this? Basically, people's minds are not their own. People are so stuck in, we could say, the digital matrix, the screen, the notifications, the red notification symbols, the dopamine hits, there's just so much information moving through your brain, moving through your nervous system, that it's so overstimulating that most people have a difficult time really like recollecting themselves, like getting back into a state of, okay, back into my center. Where am I? Where am I right now? Where was I before this? How did I get here? Where do I want to go next? Like just this grounded intentionality, I suppose. You know what I mean? Like most people are just living life in reactivity. It's like, oh shit, there's this thing, and there's this thing I got to do, and oh, I'm feeling overwhelmed, and it's really difficult to live in purpose and pleasure when that is your daily life experience. You're essentially stuck in survival mode. And so that makes this a more challenging time than ever to do these practices, to cultivate your sexual energy beyond just like, becoming aroused and jerking off and, okay, well, that was nice. Like, that's fine. That's the experience you want to have. That's fine. But there's more than that. And the benefit, one of the biggest benefits for me of these practices, of this path of sexual kung fu, path of cultivation, is that it allows me to exist in the year 2025 with all the chaos and the stimulation and all over the place. It's all across the spectrum. I can exist within that and still be centered, still have good health, have vitality, have amazing sex, amazing pleasure that's not like depleting me, but also be able to bring myself to where I want to go. I always say I'm here to help you master your sexual energy so you can manifest your ideal life. And that's truly what this is about, is because in order to do that, you got to get this thing under control. And maybe that's not the right, getting it under control you must establish or reestablish a more beneficial relationship with it than perhaps you have had. Okay. Because we've been trained from a young age to feel very shameful about our bodies, about sexuality. It's a very sticky thing. And inevitably, there's going to be these layers of shame and things to unwind. That's part of the path as well. So ultimately, sexual cultivation is about completely. It's like learning sexuality anew from square one. Like if you take my course, Multi-Orgasmic Man, it's like a complete system of rewiring your mind and body to have a completely different experience of sex and sexuality and orgasm, based on non-ejaculatory, based on building energy rather than dispersing it. And so, okay, basically this is important. It's important to do right now, because right now there's also, as I said, there's a lot of chaos, there's a lot of craziness in the world. There's also a lot of potential. We have more resources available to us than ever before. I mean, there's really, like, if you want to do something, there's nothing keeping you from doing it other than time and effort. You know what I mean? Clarity, intentionality, and then going for it and being consistent with it, right? But what makes that process a lot easier, maybe accelerated, is when you have your sexuality, your sexual energy moving with you, moving through the subtle energy channels of your body, moving with your mind intent, your heart's direction, instead of the biggest problem for men. I feel like I'm just kind of repeating myself, but it's true that the biggest problem men have generally is sex and sexuality being a completely impulsive thing, having no self-control, being driven to jerk off to porn, being driven to ejaculate, being driven to end every sexual session with ejaculating. That is depleting your sexual energy. So we got to correct that. We got to correct that and learn to build your energy over time instead of depleting it every day. That's a paradigm shift for some people because we were not taught to do this. We were only taught how to spend our energy. So you get to the cultivation practice where you're building energy. So on a practical level here, let's get a little bit of the overview of like the sexual kung fu system and like what's required to master your sexual energy. Because this is about, it's not just about having better sex and having better orgasms. Yes, that's there, and that is a big part of it. But it's beyond that because I've been having this discussion a lot with men within my programs, where basically men, there's a whole paradigm shift when you're getting into the realm of non-ejaculatory orgasm, because talking back on how us men are so programmed around how we experience sex and orgasm. Everyone's programmed, conditioned. But for men, it's this fixation on ejaculatory release, often because there's so much strain in the body and the mind. There's so much you're just like tensely holding together that an ejaculation is a big release. It's a big like, oh, fuck. It's a big letting go. And so the problem men have, a challenge rather that men have, it's not a problem, there's a paradigm shift required, is that men are, because the non-ejaculatory orgasm, it's not a release, not an external release, it's an internal, it's a release from one part of the body to the other, but overall, it's an internal building of pressure, of arousal, of sensation. And it's not going anywhere. It's staying inside of you. So it builds and becomes very, very powerful. But what you don't experience is a release from it. And so that's what men are looking for. They're looking for the ejaculatory experience without semen coming out. And that's not how it is. And so what it requires is to understand, like, how are you holding on to layers of tension in your mind, body, and spirit? Tension, resistance, struggle, just forcing things to be held in place. And how do you let go of these things? A lot of the work is the nervous system. Let's make it really practical. Stuck in sympathetic, dominant, survival mode, fight or flight mode states. That is always in tandem with poor sexual vitality, a very difficult time controlling ejaculation, and often a dissatisfaction around a discomfort with sustained feelings of arousal. Okay, and so to move into the model of non-ejaculatory orgasm, you got to open things up a little bit. You got to let go, bro. You got to let go. Don't be such a tight ass, man. Let that pelvic floor relax. Let that spine open. Oh, breathe through that microcosmic orbit, baby. Oh yeah. You open up some space. You get things flowing, and now you're comfortable holding on to more sensation because your nervous system's balanced. You're grounded. You have a container that's open and available to hold this heightened energy that is built from sexual cultivation. Without that, it's uncomfortable. You just feel like you're going crazy. You feel angry and irritable, and you don't sleep well, and just like, oh, fuck, you're a bomb about to go off. And that's not healthy. That's not balanced. That's not the approach that I take. It's about opening up your system over time through daily practices. This is the whole thing. It's a practice. It's a lifestyle. It really is. And that's what my system has really moved into, is like, I'm approaching this as like, look, it's like becoming an athlete. If you want to build a bodybuilder's body, you have to train in a certain way, and it's not going to happen overnight. That's the same approach of sexual kung fu. If you want to have a certain relationship to your sexual energy, your body, mind, and nervous system must be built in a certain way. So you have to address all these things over time, consistently, to rebuild how your mind and body functions into basically being an orgasm generator. How does that sound? And so that's the approach of my work, my programs, my system is you're retraining out of these stress-based, shutting down, locking down, survival mode, stress response, and into an open, present, grounded experience. And by doing so, you can start to contain vast amounts of sexual pleasure, sexual sensation without ejaculating and having these full body orgasms. To make things very practical, like here's what you can experience through sexual kung fu training. You can experience to last as long as you want during sex. Like there's no limit. It's not a matter of like, well, you'll be able to last an hour. It's like it. Once you understand this, there's no end to it until you choose to. Again, it's a huge paradigm shift, and you don't ejaculate, at least not all the time, in doing these practices. So it's just like it's a game changer. You can expect to experience vastly amplified, vastly increased experiences of sexual pleasure and orgasm, full body orgasm, multiple non-ejaculatory orgasms, all the stuff, all the stuff. But it goes beyond just the bedroom. Better sex with your partner, better connection, more self-love, more confidence, more like, you know what? Okay, maybe I don't need to be so hard on myself. I'm actually pretty okay. I'm actually a pretty cool person. Like I can just love myself and appreciate myself. And life actually works a lot better when I'm doing so. Everything's more enjoyable. Huh. I've been looking for all this on the outside, and it's really in here. It's the typical thing that happens along this journey. But it's not, like I just said, it's not just in the bedroom. It's your daily life. All of a sudden you realize that the shame you feel around, sexuality and the impulsiveness, it's all also existing in your daily life. How you're shutting down around other people, how you are withholding in all situations, like how you're not stepping into your worthiness, your confidence, your belief in yourself. All of a sudden, all this work you're doing that applies in the bedroom, you're having amazing sex, you're having amazing sexual experience and orgasms. All of a sudden, the rest of your life becomes a lot more orgasmic. You wake up one day and realize, oh, you know what? I've been working this job and it really fucking sucks. And my boss is an asshole, and like my coworkers are all zombies just locked into the matrix. And like, maybe I don't want to die having spent my whole life like this. Maybe it's time to do something new. And you put this creative, driving sexual energy into things. It changes you at a core level. You're no longer content with mediocrity in your life. Okay, so it goes deep. It goes deep. Reeling it back in here. Oh, I gotta pull up the dandelion root tea. Uh, the overview, right? So where I was going was that basically this whole process of rewiring your mind and body, nervous system, energy, body, your physical reaction to arousal. Do you tense up and get overexcited, and then it's just a quick build up to ejaculation, or do you release? Do you allow the arousal to open you, to feel more of it, to hold more of it, to contain more of it? And that's basically that's what sexual kung fu is, training into that. But it's a process, and it's a strategic, specifically organized process in my system. Okay, and how we do this is through one of the biggest things is qigong. Qigong is I recently realized that I'm addicted to qigong practice, guys. Big surprise, because it's fucking awesome. You want to energize yourself. You want to open up your body, your mind, clear blocks, clear tension patterns, like fucking qigong. Okay, and guess what? This is the foundation. It's a foundation for being able to experience orgasms in your entire body. It's an issue of, or it's a matter of the communication between your genitals and the rest of your body. For most men, it's disconnected. So ejaculation is just a short circuit. It's like, bzz, and I discharged out. Okay, little sticky sneeze. Okay, that's it. That's my orgasm. It really, that's what it is for men. It's like, okay, that's that. Where was I going with that? Oh, right. So qigong is a fucking incredible, multi-thousand-year-old practice. It seems really woo-woo to some people, and some people make it overly physicalized, like, it's just like isometric moving and breathing and improving circulation. And it's way deeper than that. It's a whole rabbit hole to really get into the whole internal energy cultivation thing. But the practicality of it is that it develops and deepens your connection between your mind and your body, because it's something that's lacking in the modern world, because we're kind of trained to be out of our bodies from a young age. They're really good at, our modern schooling systems are really good at disconnecting us from ourselves and just putting us in logical brain, problem solving, basically how to be an employee. You know what I mean? So we lose our natural connection with our body and our awareness of our subtle energy, our nervous system, etc. So qigong basically helps you to reestablish this, and this leads to incredible sexual control. Plus, building your vitality, rebuilding your sexual vitality. You want to have youthful sexual stamina into years, your 80s, your 90s. This is the way to do it. It's really actually not unnatural. This is the natural thing for men, is to be more vital as they age. It's the modern world that has unnatural lifestyles based on stress and disconnection from your body that depletes you with every year. But it doesn't have to be that way. So that's qigong's a big part of it, right? Some other things in sexual kung fu, of course, proper breathing. It's so basic, but it's the first thing you forget in the passions of the bedroom. Is that goes out the window and you're back into your stress response. So breathing is important. Uh, there's a specific practice I teach called sexual vitality breathing, which is how to properly breathe so that it massages your internal organs, releases your pelvic floor, tonifies your kidney energy, tonifies your sexual energy. Basically, like breathing renourishes you when you do this practice. Those of you in MOM, you know what's up. Multi-orgasmic man course. So breath is a big part of it, and that's the foundations. Like, if you can't breathe properly during sex, you're not gonna be able to control your arousal. So, and that's the thing that your mind can always do at any point to reestablish control, is get back into the breath. Ah, that's nice. Another part of the work here, this is kind of like the practical tools that sexual kung fu uses: pelvic floor rebalancing. And no, this does not mean Kegel exercises. I am not a proponent of Kegels. I think Kegels are inappropriate for probably 95% of men, if not more. And this goes against what most people are saying about this, which kind of shows how much just people don't have a fucking clue about this stuff. You know what I mean? Just, I don't know, we'll fucking squeeze it. Maybe it'll work, but I don't know. You know what I mean? It took me a while to discover this, my own journey with this, but basically, the pelvic floor is a very obvious representation of this transitioning from a stress tension response to a relaxation response, because the easiest way to tell if you have a stress response to sex, and this is the biggest cause of premature ejaculation, as well as like weak erections that kind of come and go and aren't super solid, is a hypertonic pelvic floor, tension patterns in the pelvic floor. So it's really important that you retrain, because a lot of men train themselves to grip, to squeeze the pelvic floor during sexual stimulation, which locks in a sympathetic nervous system pathway of a buildup towards ejaculation. It's the only thing you can experience when you're in that tension model. And so you have to retrain yourself out of that to keep your pelvic floor relaxed. And this is how you have endless sexual stamina. Like when you go to Plowtown, you're having some nice, rough, vigorous sex. If you keep your pelvic floor completely relaxed, you won't ejaculate. Straight up. But that's a process. And of course, there's the direct sexual circulation practices, because this is ultimately the biggest part of it. It's both, it's simple. It's relatively simple in theory and practice, but it also takes some time to do properly, which is circulating your sexual energy. If that's too woo-woo for you, we'll just say it's reconnecting the information of your nervous system from your genitals to the rest of the body, so you can experience the sexual pleasure throughout your nerves in your whole body. I don't know if you guys can hear my squeaky chair. It's a little squeaky. It's busted too many nuts. It's drying up. So the idea being that for men, once they're becoming aroused, all this pressure is building up in the genitals. So the simple way to deal with this is you open up the body and move that pressure upwards. You move that sexual arousal, that sexual pleasure upwards. We do this through opening up the microcosmic orbit, which, you want to talk about quantum leaps in training. I'm doing this with dragon breathing now, which is a new practice I developed. It's fucking awesome. I developed it based on my understandings of Qigong and some practice I had learned. Basically, dragon breathing is a technique that opens not just the microcosmic orbit, but the macrocosmic orbit. And I will say this, it starts in the feet. Because the more grounded you are, the easier it is to control your hot, volatile sexual energy. It keeps it cooler. Getting phenomenal results from the dragon breathing, the men who are going through the Multi-Orgasmic Man program. So It's badass. It's a badass practice. I do it every day. I do it all day. It's phenomenal. Anyways, so opening up this pathway, moving your vital energy through it, you have to build that as like muscle memory. Like, yeah, this is what it's like to circulate your energy. It's fucking simple, actually, but it just takes repetition. And then you're doing that during sex. You're doing that during, whatever, self pleasure. I don't care. You're waking up at 3 a.m. with morning wood. You're doing it there. You're bringing your sexual energy through your energy channels of your body, and now it's circulating from head to toe. Your whole body's radiating with orgasmic sexual energy, and the sexual energy, it almost seems to function like stem cells in the body. It turns into whatever is needed by the body. And it's difficult to do that when you're ejaculating it out every time. So you build it up a little bit, you circulate your sexual energy through your body, and it's bringing this rejuvenating, revitalizing, regenerative energy. Bring it to your liver. I don't care. Bring it to your brain, of course. It's a common one. Bring it to your legs. Who's doing that? I'm doing it. You bring it wherever you want. And everything becomes orgasmic. Now, once again, 24/7, you're walking around, your sexual energy is just, you're buzzing hard, son. You're buzzing 24/7. You're high as a kite, but in a grounded, cool, sustainable way every day. Again, this is why I practice 3 hours a day, guys. It gets me super high. I feel fantastic. And I don't need drugs. Drugs are for amateurs. Getting high is for amateurs on substances anyway. The cheese for the cultivators. That's the real deal. No one can take that away from you, and there's no negative side effects. I mean, unless you're doing things completely wrong. Okay, so I've talked about a lot here. I'm going to kind of wrap this section up, and I'll get into answering some questions. I see lots of questions coming in. Got to lube this damn chair up. So squeaky. I don't think the mic's picking it up, but it's bothering me. Okay. And I think this is worth mentioning as well, because it's such a huge piece of it. Which is clearing the levels of sexual shame. Sexual shame, a lot of the baggage we have around our bodies and sexuality, like it's loaded. It's really loaded. Like there's still things I'm still working on myself. Still things I'm processing, digesting, and working through my own blocks. You know what I mean? But I've come a long ways. Come a long ways, boys. And because the whole thing is, again, we're brought up with simultaneously being very exposed to sexual material and porn and movies and things. But then on the other hand, there's often this, like, whether it's religion or cultural things, like, sex is wrong, it's dirty, it's not okay, it's don't touch that pecker, little Johnny, you'll go straight to hell for that. You know what I mean? It's like, we can see how we might have a bit of, like, for lack of a better word, imbalance around this. So that's the whole process, and a big part of the work is overcoming this shame and seeing that, you know what, it's okay. Sexual pleasure is okay. This part of your body is okay. There's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing to be ashamed of, or obviously, legally we have to cover it up and all that. But it's nothing to be ashamed of. And there's often past sexual experiences that were difficult, embarrassing, unsatisfying, frustrating, whatever it is. And often people get stuck in that, where they're still reliving the past. A lot of men with performance anxiety, they go into connection with a partner, and all of a sudden they're not there anymore. They're in the past. They're in a past situation, and worry and anxiety. And so it's about letting go of all these things, coming back to the present moment, releasing the tension patterns and the stuck areas of the mind that are pulling you back into past events, and being fully in the present moment. That's a huge part of the training as well, and something I address a lot in the trainings. And then, of course, there's the dynamics of a relationship. It's like, this is a common question from men. It's like, okay, well, now I'm having non-ejaculatory orgasms. I'm doing Qigong. I'm like doing all these breathing exercises. When I build up arousal, I'm then like pumping it up to my dantian, my lungs, my brain through these sexual kung fu techniques. But like, what the hell is my partner going to think about this? How do I bring this into a relationship with someone who's used to just poke and thrust and squirt, And obviously, that's another aspect of it within itself. Well, first of all, it's just like, hey, You own, like, it's nothing to be embarrassed about. Shouldn't be embarrassed the fact that you're having non-ejaculatory orgasms. You fucking own that shit, son. But I can understand, like, yeah, there's communication. This isn't. It's not going to vibe well, for a man who's dating women. It's not going to vibe well for all women, and that's fine. You should be selective. You should be choosy. You shouldn't just go for whoever will have you. Like, you're valuable, so choose someone valuable as well, right? Um, but I think another common pitfall within this with men in regards to relationships is over obsessing about the not ejaculating part, where it's like, I've got messages from women who are like, okay, my guy got into these practices, but during sex, he literally like threw me off the bed, jumped up, and like was doing these things to make sure he didn't ejaculate. So like, that's not quite it. That's still kind of, you ideally you get really good at this on your own, and then you bring it into sex with a partner. You don't make them your training partner unless that's discussed and they're up for it. Um, and obviously there's a learning curve here as well. But what I'm really getting at with this is that you shouldn't over obsess about anything. Enjoy yourself, enjoy the dynamic, enjoy the connection with your partner. Like, ultimately, the path of sexual kung fu allows for deeper intimacy, deeper connection, deeper realms of sexual experience. And yeah, there is a process of integrating it, of training how to do it properly, and it's gonna be challenges. But eventually, this becomes natural. It becomes conscious or subconscious for you to just be circulating your sexual energy while you're having sex. Like, it just happens more or less in the background because you know what to do. So it's kind of long term success and goals there. Okay, anything else? Overall, what you can expect to get from sexual cultivation. Oh, I almost forgot one of the most important things is what a lot of men are lacking who kind of get stuck in this work are what they're lacking is basically a proper outlet for their energy. And what I mean by that is something you're creating, something that you're putting out into the world. Like, I recently had this realization. Well, maybe I'll get to that. What I mean by this, though, is that you're building up all this energy by doing sexual cultivation. And what often happens is you start to build more than you're actually like doing anything with. Like, yeah, you can store some for use later, but you can only store so much before it starts to rise up into your head and drive you crazy. You get insomnia, you feel overstimulated, you feel just overly jacked up on too much energy that you can't contain. So this is why you need an outlet to put your energy into. Let it drive you to be more creative, more productive. So this is why changing your lifestyle around this sexual cultivation practice is essential. Without that, you just kind of it just kind of sits inside of you and rots if you're not actually like circulating it, putting it into things, giving it back to the world in a different form. You know what I mean? So, yeah. Basically, if you want to have more energy, you have to have something to do with it. And so this is also like part of you having a purpose. Like, why am I here? What am I doing? Am I just gonna like play video games all day and like I need more sexual energy to do that with? Nah, it's probably not gonna be a very good outcome. Okay, maybe it's time for me to do something bigger with my life. Maybe I need to do some community work, uh, learn to play a musical instrument, join a choir, improv comedy, whatever it is, like something, build things with your hands, right? Something you're putting energy into, and that's actually going to be a really valuable thing as well. Okay. I think I've talked enough on this aspect of stuff. I want to get into your guys' questions, but I want to wrap this up. If you're like, okay, this sounds great, Jonathan, but what the hell do I do next? My advice is to join my upcoming free training next week, which is the Orgasmic Olympian Masterclass. It's gonna be amazing. All right, I'm gonna drop basically the full training system of sexual kung fu, like what is required to train yourself to become what I would say is a sexual super athlete, meaning you have complete ejaculation control, you're having non-ejaculatory orgasms, you're channeling your sexual energy into higher energy, creativity, success, everything. I'm going to be covering all of that in that workshop. It's free. Sign up. There's a link in the Instagram bio. There's a link in this YouTube description. All right. So good next steps. And once again, in case you're just joining on, I'm teaching a live workshop in person, in the flesh, here in Asheville in April 5th and 6th. It's going to be a 2-day weekend workshop on sexual kung fu. We're going to be doing qigong, learning the sexual kung fu practices, fully clothed, of course, nothing directly sexual. That's how I roll. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be in a beautiful venue. You can. I don't have the booking page finished. I'll probably have that within the next week, but you can sign up for the retreat waitlist to be first notified when I open that, when I do have the page open for booking. So check that out. It's in the YouTube description. Phil Bradley says, ride a bicycle. That's great, but not with the normal bike seat. The normal bicycle seats put all of your body's weight onto your pelvic floor, onto your perineum, cutting off blood flow. A lot of bicyclists develop prostate issues and erectile dysfunction from this. What I would recommend, bicycling is great exercise, but that seat is, whoever designed that seat's a fucking idiot. Just straight up, okay? You can use I'd bought a custom bike seat that had like a cutout for the taint for the perineum, and so all my weight goes on the glutes. If you're a man, that's essential. Like, who designed the bicycle seat? Dumbass, you know? They didn't understand the anatomy, clearly. All right, type your questions in the chat box. We're going to go into it. Okay, one last thing. Yeah, go ahead and type your questions in. I've been away for, so December, and actually January as well, a lot of January. I was, I took some time off, took a holiday break. Fantastic. I basically wasn't on screens, no checking emails, wasn't doing any like proper work things, just taking a break. Oh, it's so good. That's how winter's supposed to be. We're supposed to go within and just rebuild our energy, our vitality, and take a breather, man. It was so good. Saw some friends, saw some family, spent 2 weeks in Idaho visiting family and friends, spent a week in Arizona getting some sun down in Sedona. Fantastic. A lot of practice, a lot of cultivation. I'm flying on planes, spending 7 hours on planes. I'm doing dragon breathing, the most badass cream of the crop sexual kung fu practice. I'm running my orbit, running my energy. I'm just lighting up. And got a lot of practice, some good rest in, and I'm ready to crush this year, guys. Got some cool things in store. What else? I mean, there's more than that, but overall, taking some time away, a little personal retreat, and it's like, just made me realize how just overstimulated we are, and how much like just over bombarded with information we are from social media and phone screens. Like, yeah, there's a lot of, I feel like I'm always slamming it. Obviously there's benefits to it. We're here, you're listening to me right now. We're having some kind of interaction, I'm sharing and hopefully you're getting something from this. Hopefully, well, I don't know. But so obviously it has its benefits, it's able to connect us all. Like, that's great. That's fantastic. But we have to use boundaries around those benefits, because it can also be I've been saying that screen time is one of the biggest boner killers, because it just messes up your dopamine system. It just basically pulls your chi, your vitality, from your lower centers up into your head, and just burns up your brain, dries up your sexual vitality. So yeah, it was good to be away from that. But where I was going with that was just became aware, of how much the world has changed. Like, thinking back to when I grew up in the 90s, we didn't even have cell phones, barely, back then. It was just like everything was real and in real life. And like, I'm in nature. I'm looking at real things. I'm touching things with my hands. Like, man, it was a different paradigm. Some of you are like, who is this old man? All right, let's get into the questions. But one last thing I'll say about that was what a vitality reset that was for me. It's amazing where, like, instantly, my sexual vitality is pretty good. But once I started my break, like no screen time things, it's like my sexual libido just goes through the roof, like overnight. I'm waking up from anytime I wake up in the night or the morning, I'm just raging rock hard erection, like just incredible vitality. Just a reminder of how, stimulation, screens, they drive vitality. Okay, Pure Presence is asking, what do you know about prostatic fluid leaking into urine, or is this just something natural that needs to happen with the buildup of it. This is very normal. It happens to most men who are, going periods of time without ejaculating. What happens is usually when you're aroused, fluid starts to build up. Like fluid starts to be released in the prostate, and it can kind of swell with that fluid because normally it's preparing to ejaculate. So all these different secretions which mix with the sperm to like alkalize the urethra and kind of provide nutrients for the sperm. These start to be released, but then you don't ejaculate, and the fluid just sits in the prostate. So that is a very real dynamic to this, and so it's normal that like you urinate and some of that comes out because there's just pressure buildup. It's like the pipes are just they're getting loaded. It's normal, but what I recommend at the minimum is I actually have one, but I don't feel like I need to grab it. A tennis ball, anytime after every non-ejaculatory sexual stimulation session, whether it's sex or solo cultivation. Place the tennis ball under your perineum. You sit on it under the soft spot just in front of the anus, and you kind of grind around a little bit, move forward and backwards, and just sit on it, get some acupressure up in there. That helps to release some of that fluid and kind of massage and release the tension and build up in that area. Damon says, I'm about circulating my energy and listening at the same time. Awesome. I think you're saying that you're doing some practice while you're listening to this, and that's the way to do it, guys. It's like, yeah, I'm practicing almost 24/7. It's like I'm driving in my car, I'm doing Neigong. I'm circulating energy, I'm activating chi. Yeah, if I was like sitting here listening to something, I'd be doing qigong. I like to go to movies with my wife, and I'll do qigong for 2 hours. Just fucking blast off sitting there in the movie theater. It's eventually you can be doing it 24/7, and then you just get into like your energy body's activated 24/7. Which is how we're supposed to be as humans, but things have changed. We'll just say that. Cup of Jojo, what's up? Samya Sunabira Das says, keep transmuting and stay hard, kings. Yeah, I like it. Keep transmuting and stay hard, my bros. Okay, period presence is saying it looks like 70% of an ejaculation is composed of vesical fluid. Any ideas of this fluid? Oh, okay. Is the loss of this fluid detrimental too? So basically, are the other components of your fluid besides the actual sperm a detrimental loss? Well, I'm not sure exactly. Like for some men, there's and I guess it's technically something different, but like, or maybe not. The pre-ejaculate fluid, like the clear liquid that seeps out of the penis when you're aroused, like that's losing that isn't something to be worried about. I made a video on this, but it's like, again, it's no big deal. Basically, that's just like you blew your nose and be like, oh no, I lost Jing. Like, it's negligible. But maybe more of the topic, like how this. Okay, where I'm going with this is, if you're ejaculating out a large amount of fluid, it's going to have an energy loss. Where if it's like a little bit's leaking out, no big deal. But I think an interesting example of what I'm really talking about here is men who have had vasectomies, snip. They cannot ejaculate out sperm any longer, but they do ejaculate out the seminal fluid. And it's like they're still shooting full, what probably seems to be full on loads from what I've heard. Okay. I don't know myself. I'm all natural, baby. But they still experience the same post nut syndrome, temporary impotence, fatigue, hormonal changes. So it shows you that it's not just about the physical sperm. Maybe it's some of those other fluids as well. But I think more so, it's not just a physical thing happening, or there's things happening on different levels. It's a dispersal of Jing, which is why even if you're using some of the dry orgasm techniques where you're like squeezing and holding, and you're technically not ejaculating, but you still often experience refractory orgasm symptoms, refractory periods after peak orgasm symptoms. So there's a lot of different things happening when it comes to the dynamics of sex and orgasm. Damon says, took me a while. I definitely more enjoyable than busting a nut. Excellent. Stoic from India. What's up, bro? Stoic says, can you teach the proper form of breathing, the spinal breathing, to bring all that energy to the solar plexus? Uh, I don't recommend that be an initial like focal point, the solar plexus, because this is an area, basically the region of the diaphragm right here. This is an area that people are already really, really bound up in, really tense and really tight and really stuck. So if that's the first place you start bringing sexual energy into, then it may just exacerbate some of the like underlying emotional things there. Basically, it's not a great starting point. A better starting point is going to be the lower dantian, which is lower. It's going to be beneath your navel, more or less. Okay, Chariton is asking, do you do your own qigong, and what would you suggest for someone who just started? Yes, I do my own qigong. I've been studying qigong for over a decade, quite intensively, and I've learned probably over 100 forms, tons and tons and tons. I've learned like hundreds and thousands of techniques, and so I have a big library to choose from. But eventually it becomes more about principles than like the specific form. Like it's not a matter of like, oh, is this form better than that form? Well, none of the forms matter if you don't actually have chi going in it. If you're just like imagining things and you're all moving from your muscles and just kind of forcing things around, like not much is going to be happening. Um, yeah. So if you just got started, I would recommend checking some of my YouTube qigong videos out. If you go on my Sexual Kung Fu YouTube, go to Qigong playlists. I've got whole playlists of some fantastic Qigong uh, practices to follow. Oh, Ani Kuten saying Qigong is fascinating. It's often dismissed as just breath work and movement, but at its core, it's about internal energy and awareness, the way it connects mind and body. Yeah, Qigong is about building chi. And chi is an interesting thing because there's many definitions and philosophical ideas about what it is. The actual experience of it's something else, right? To me, it's very fluid like. It's like a thick, dense liquid once you start to build it, and it's quite phenomenal. And once you start to experience, you're like, oh, well, duh, this is what qigong's about. Like all the breathing and oh yeah, like moving tissues, blah blah blah. That's just like a side effect, something that also happens while you're engaging this radioactive powerful energy that's you know pretty orgasmic. Actually, it's incredible, but it took me years to really feel and uh, strongly feel and stabilize that experience. But now it's just like 24/7 my chi's just like just going. Prince of Persia is asking, is your new program better than 2019 version? Yeah. It's Multi-Orgasmic Man 3.0. It's complete. I mean, it's almost like a recreation of it. It's like that was 5 years ago when I first created the course. Of course, I updated it over the following years, but it's it's a quantum leap. That program was amazing. It was also already like the standard of male sexual cultivation, and I got amazing feedback from that course. But this is like quantum leap, next level. It's fantastic. And if you bought an older version of Multi-Orgasmic Man, you have access to the updated one. Log into your program and check it out. And someone else is asking about when the course is. Uh, I'm opening up Multi-Orgasmic Man 3.0 soon, very soon. So if you're on my email list, again, you'll be first to know about when that's dropping. But it's coming soon, very soon. Mafuga on Instagram is asking, what Aneros model do you recommend? Aneros is a prostate massager. It's a device that you insert into your anus to massage the prostate. And it's also a fantastic tool for releasing pelvic floor tension because it gives you direct feedback of, holy shit, I'm really gripping down there. And with time, it can also open you up to prostate orgasms, which are crazy. Take your take your best orgasm and it's like what was the movie? It's like a movie about this is random. It was a movie about heroin addicts. It's called Train Spotting, and this came to mind. He's like, take your best orgasm, multiply it by 1,000, and you're not even fucking close, or something like that. So they're talking about heroin, but it's like obviously I'm not a proponent of drugs, but I'm talking about prostate orgasms. It's like take your best orgasm, multiply it by 1,000, and like yeah, that's the prostate orgasm. But take some time to develop that. Yes, my favorite Aneros model, the one I recommend, is the Helix, the silicon version, the softer one. It's like I think it's the Syn SYN Helix HELIX. It's a great model. Alfonso's asking, how long do I spend sitting down in a day? It varies. I mean, some days I'm on my feet most of the day. Like I'm a very active person. My typical daily schedule is I get up, I shower, make some tea, drink some water, get hydrated, and then I do about 2 hours of practice. I do some like stretches, warm up, some yoga type stuff, and then I get into my proper qigong for usually like an hour or more, and then I sit and do my seated work for 45 minutes to an hour. So I guess that's sitting, and then I go to often after that I go to the gym and work out, and some days I'm going to that's three days a week. I go to the gym and work out, do some recumbent biking too. I go to martial arts classes a few times a week. I'll go for a walk or a hike sometimes. And then I do more Qigong, Tai Chi, Xingyi, Bagua, internal martial arts, Qigong, Qi cultivation in the evening. So I'm a pretty active person. So how often I spend sitting down? Well, my sitting meditation, I'm sitting down. And then often when I'm working, doing some computer stuff or filming, I'll be sitting down for that. Chilling in the evening. But overall, I'm pretty active. Too active sometimes, to be honest. My daily caloric expenditure is about 3,200 to 3,500 calories, sometimes more actually. That's an average day for me. So the benefit of that is like I'm doing weight training too. So like I'm into tracking and macros and protein and all that. But I don't mind eating. That I get to eat a lot of food just to sustain my my energy expenditure. But I was in the cutting days. That was rough. Trying to make it on 2,000 calories a day. Well, it was like 2,300 for me, which was very low for my body's needs. Anyways, OBT says my pelvic floor is pulsing. Do you have any information about it? Well, that can mean a lot of different things. Is it like pulsing as it does when you're having an ejaculation? Is it like a subtle buzzing? Is it like an involuntary spasm? It could be many different things. I can't really diagnose anything. I'm not qualified to diagnose anything. I definitely couldn't do it through a couple sentences. But a little more context, maybe I can have more awareness. Okay. Lorenzo's asking please talk about how this can apply for older men over 60, equally. It's this work is actually more important as you get up there in years. You don't have to be 20 or 30 to do this stuff. Fortunately, I started this in my early 20s. I was like 23 years old when I started this. I'm 36 now, just turned 36 at the beginning of this month. And, but I work with a lot of men who start this in their 60s, even their 70s. I've had some men in their 70s take my programs and they get incredible benefit from it. Like, yeah, you may have more challenges with certain things because you may have had certain patterns in place for longer, but overall, it can really help you reclaim a lot of vitality. So, it becomes even more appropriate as you get older. A lot of the Taoist texts talk about like once a man turns 40, then it's time for him to really start managing his sexual energy. And I would say that's like 20 is the new 40, like straight up, which tells you a lot about kind of, people's health, hormone levels in the modern world. It's crazy. I made a video on this. I can't remember the topic, where I was kind of comparing some of the sexual aging milestones, markers of like 2,000-year-old text from ancient China versus like people's average vitality now. And it's like people are basically unhealthier than ever. Sexual libido vitality is lower than I think any other time in history. It's crazy. And I've made videos about why that is. It's toxins, it's stress, a lack of nutrition in our diet, all kinds of things. But sexual energy management, Qigong, energy cultivation is a very, very valuable tool for reclaiming your vitality. Ferb Works says, how do you decide what is a healthy amount of sex to have and how often to ejaculate, if ever? Okay, so this is going to vary. I mean, obviously, there could be many extremes here. Maybe having sex 24/7 would be a bit much that eventually might become a bit straining on your system. Whereas never ever having sex, I don't think is healthy. I don't think it's healthy. I think that sex is one of the best exercises you can do for your mind, your body, especially your endocrine system. I think that's very rejuvenating if you're doing it in the right way. So it's really like, you know, I think several times a week for the average person. For me, I go through phases. Often it's daily, where I'm like, yeah, I want to be having sex every day. And then, for example, the winter is usually a time where there's not as much sexual desire because the body naturally, in the rhythms of nature, it's more about protecting resources. So usually people have lower libido in the winter. Although this winter I haven't really noticed much of that effect. Actually, the past couple winters maybe, which is a testament to the practice. So it's gonna wax and wane. Ultimately, it's like, I mean, there's a lot of complexity to this question. Just because someone who's unhealthy, you've got certain health issues which always show up as hormonal issues. When the body is imbalanced, the first thing to go is sexual function. So in that case, maybe it's like you only feel like having sex like once a week or once a month, which shows that okay, um, that no, it's nothing wrong with that, but it could be that you need to correct your hormones a little bit. Basically, uh, Chinese medicine and definitely like some of the Taoist systems, they consider your libido to be an indicator of your youthfulness, your vitality. So it's like, if you have strong sexual desire, not so much that you're like obsessed and like a sex addict, you know what I mean? But like, just like, yeah, there's just that like, there's that spark in your eye, there's that fire in your loins. It's a good marker of vitality. Um, so having said that, yeah, it's going to be different for everyone. But how often to ejaculate, if ever? I do believe that it's beneficial for men to have occasional ejaculations. I'm not a like you got to retain forever. After doing this for a decade, I see that there can be extremes on both sides, and I experience the best vitality, hormones, creative energy, everything. My cultivation, everything is the best. I get the most out of it when I ejaculate about once a month. That's my cycle. It's my ideal cycle. Works fucking great for me. If I go longer than that, it's actually detrimental for me. So, for the average man, though, I think a good starting point is once a week, and then working your way up to like once every 2 weeks, and even once every 2 weeks for like a sexually active person. You're doing like sexual kung fu. You're having non-ejaculatory sex. Like you're going to be super vital if it's like you ejaculate like once every 2 weeks, and then you could do once a month. That may or may not be suitable for everyone. Just depends. But don't force anything, right? This is the whole thing with the sexual kung fu practices is you're not like forcing yourself to not ejaculate. That can have a lot of like destructive effects actually. If it's like just this torturous thing of like, I have to hold it back, it's actually not good for you to have that relationship with it. It should be a natural thing where you've rewired your mind and body and you're channeling the energy so that naturally you lose the impulse to ejaculate every time. I'm about to I haven't been on Instagram much recently. It's about to cut me off because I'm approaching an hour, so my Instagram feed's about to drop off. Then I'll jump back on. So if I haven't got to your question yet, you'll have to type it in there. My apologies. So I'll be right back. Instagram. Let's go to the next question. Oh, okay. Instagram's down. A little secret YouTube. I don't like Instagram. I don't spend much. Oh, I actually spend zero time on there. YouTube's where it's at. A little more intelligent form, like, actually like some depth there other than just like scrolling through a bunch of random shit. Oh, I got it. Okay, okay. Give me 1 second, guys. Okay. Next question. AT344. Are you a stormtrooper? Uh A1344 is asking, "What's up, bro? I have had no libido and morning erection for 9 months after a long period of worry. Do you think it will return if I something after a lot of work switch to parasympathetic?" Yeah, if you that's gonna be a major thing. I mean, there could be a lot of things going on here, but obviously you're in a period of worry, stress, big boner killer. But definitely some, 9 months with no libido and no morning erections, like, yeah, I would be doing everything I could to address that. Check out my video on esoteric sexual vitality optimization guide. That's going to have everything I would say about basically increasing your libido, rebuilding your sexual vitality. So yeah, I would definitely, be doing everything I could to change up my lifestyle to rebuild vitality. Okay, New Life 47 says, "Would you say that profound changes only take place from day 90 plus on semen retention?" No, not necessarily. It's gonna vary. Like some people go that long and they experience very few things because this isn't like a semen retention and like it's not a cure all. It's not like you develop like these magical superpowers the longer you go. There's a lot of misunderstanding about this. Basically, the whole to really understand this is that you've been depleting your energy through excessive ejaculating for a while probably, and this will be different for every person, which is why different people have different results. And then essentially practicing retention is building that energy back up overall. But there may be a lot of other ways you're spending your energy. It's not just ejaculating. Like if you're spending all day scrolling on social media, if your diet sucks, you're not getting enough sleep, you're overworking, overstressing, all of these things are going to have a similar effect that over ejaculating has on you. So you may experience minimal benefit from it. So it's not about the longer you go, the more benefits you get. It's about, are you, because you could go 200 days without ejaculating and then you go back to ejaculating every day and then before long you're back at square one. So it's about sustainability with this, and it's understanding that there's a lot more than just are you ejaculating or not. And um, if you're doing sexual kung fu exercises, rebuilding your vitality, like essentially what I'm getting at here is it's not just a case of like the longer you go, the more benefits you get. There's a lot of other factors, and not everyone's going to experience the same thing. Um, but having said that, refraining from ejaculating when you've been doing it for years is an important step of your journey. But what's also equally important is to not develop like shame or because a lot of people on the no-fap thing, where it's like, okay, I can't touch my penis if I do that, it's wrong. So doing this work of like, because for me, I didn't like go through this thing of, okay, I got to go hundreds and hundreds of days without ejaculating. That's going to solve my problems. This happened naturally from my qigong training, from my energy cultivation, where I was doing these practices. I was learning to have non-ejaculatory sexual experiences, and that changed how my sexual energy started to flow in my body and how I experienced orgasm and sexual pleasure. And by doing that, I naturally lost my desire to ejaculate. And of course, I still would occasionally ejaculate. Like most of the time, if I went more than a certain amount of time, I would have a nocturnal emission, so was going out anyway. But overall, when you're it's not that like you necessarily have to go, you know, it's not like if you go 30 days and then you ejaculate, you lose everything and you have to start over from the beginning. It's like you could even I mean, I don't necessarily recommend this, but even if you went from ejaculating every day to ejaculating once a week, over time, you're probably going to be in a net gain so that you're like rebuilding vitality over time. So people often get way over mental and obsessive and even like fanatic, fantasy-ish, delusional about the semen retention thing, and it's not everything. You know, it is an important thing. Like regulating your ejaculation, not ejaculating too often is important, and like rebuilding that vitality. But there's a lot of other pieces to the puzzle. Is what I'm trying to get at here. Sad Bro says how to handle too much energy. Well, maybe cut down on the practices you're doing. uh, you, you'll want to focus on grounding. Number one is grounding. If you're not grounded, if your energy is not connected to your legs, to your feet, into the ground, it's going to be shooting up into your head and just intensifying your mental processes. You know, overthinking, overstimulated, a lot of sympathetic activation, insomnia, etc. So grounding is an extremely important part of this. And also, something I had mentioned before is you need to put this energy into things. What I recently realized, like when I bought a house and started having like projects to do, like I've got a yard, I've got some property, and especially since the hurricane towards the end of the year, like I've had all these fallen trees, got my chainsaw, and I'm like using steel to cut wood. I'm like, oh, this is alchemical. You know, the metal cuts the wood in Chinese medicine. I have a lot of wood energy in my constitution, so for me, like doing things with my hands, building things, moving things around, obviously like going to the gym, working out, etc. Just like putting that energy, physically putting it into things, creating things with it, that will start to move it. Because yeah, this is the problem some people have is they do these things and they just build up all this energy that they're not actually using. It's not doing anything useful. It's just overstimulating them. I've experienced this several times myself. So yeah, balance is crucial. Have something to put that energy into. Stay grounded as well. Very, very important is the grounding. Sad Bros is asking, how do you get your hair to be healthy? Well, it's an extension of my body. When the body is healthy, the hair is healthy. So I don't have any like hair protocol. I take care of myself. I'm hydrated. I eat clean, eat healthy. I do my cultivation. I manage my mind, my body, and spirit. And I suppose my hair reflects that. John Cowles says he likes live streaming a lot more than edited short clips. Short clip. Yeah, for sure. No, I'm similar myself. I don't. I mean, I don't consume a whole lot of social media material. I'm only on for like educational type things mostly, and I personally prefer longer form content myself. But it's like the attention span is getting shorter and shorter of human beings. Like TikTok, like 5 second video, 5 second video. Yeah, I agree. Okay. Jad Z Sarb says, why am I not having morning wood? You might have low testosterone, or you might have high estrogen, high prolactin, low free testosterone. There's a lot of things to look into. Check out my video on YouTube. Go to Sexual Kung Fu YouTube channel. Look up my esoteric sexual vitality optimization guide. A whole ton of resources in that. Yeah. But morning erections are for men, morning/nighttime erections are a very strong indicator of your overall sexual vitality and testosterone. Oz Freedom, what's up? Yeah, Instagram. I'm not very active on Instagram these days, just because like Instagram is basically shadow banned my account. So I'm like, well, shit. I'm on YouTube. Follow my YouTube channel. It's kind of the social media format I prefer, anyways. Um, yeah. Yoga Break says, when you decide to ejaculate, if it's not with your partner, do you have any seed release ritual? Um, I mean, like for me personally, it's been I haven't ejaculated solo since before my current relationship, at least not voluntarily. I may have had a couple nocturnal emissions here and there. Woke up with some real sticky blankets, some expensive Airbnb fees, but I think I told the story of my $50 wet dream, or basically I had a wet dream at this Airbnb I was sleeping in, and the owner sends a message like, "Hey, I'm gonna have to charge you $50 because it looks like you spilled a smoothie in the comforter." That was an expensive lesson. Um, anyways, so I mean, you could get creative with it. I know people who will like they'll make a ritual out of it where they go in the woods and give it to the earth. You could like dig a hole in the earth and like be like, okay, this is like this energetic yoni space, and just bust it in there. Better than a tissue. You can also like some people in the like magical traditions will keep the semen for like um, charging up their talismans or their what's the word, their sigils. Um, Charge it up like objects, like a crystal or a pendant you wear, because it's potent jing to work with. So you can get creative with it. It's really whatever you can rub it into your body like a. I know someone who uses it as like a moisturizer beauty product. He's like, yeah, you just reabsorb it and it doesn't count as ejaculation. I'm like, all right, rub it on the skin. What I would recommend though is doing it in a very relaxed. If you're gonna solo ejaculate, see how much you can relax. This goes for any man who's going to have like a conscious ejaculation. See how much you can relax into it, because you'll notice like there's a tendency of I'm going to squeeze and go for the ejaculation, but you'll find if you keep the pelvic floor completely relaxed, it's actually difficult to ejaculate. And when you do, it's actually more pleasurable because you're not holding on to all this tension. Yeah. And don't do it to porn or visual stimulation. Like really focus internally, focus on yourself. I love myself. Put your hand on your heart and just, yeah, give yourself the energy. Okay, QBT, is it OBT? OBT says, done this with the tennis ball and I feel like I damaged some nerves. Is there a recommendation? Well, definitely, listen to your body and be careful. You don't do it more than just 2 to 3 minutes. But for you, probably pelvic floor release exercises. Like I have some guided routines on my YouTube. If you look up my 12-minute pelvic floor routine, it's killer. If you're experiencing tension in the pelvic floor, that will help to release it. Celeb Status is asking, what can help with shame and premature ejaculation? Self-love. Ultimately, letting go of like people pleasing patterns. Like this, yeah, this is a big part of the work where typically we get us a lot of men in the modern world. We're people pleasers. Nice guy syndrome. Nice guy syndrome. Check out the book No More Mr. Nice Guy by Dr. Robert Glover. Every man should read this book. Basically, this comes down to the shame. The shame equally. This applies very much so as well. And a big remedy for that is self-love, loving yourself, accepting your body, looking at yourself in the mirror and saying, you know what? I fucking love myself. I love my body. I love all of me. Inner smile is a practice I teach in my programs, which is very much about this. And also learning to let go of like the needing for validation from other people, which takes the form of like whenever I'm around someone, I need to make sure they approve of me. I need their approval. I need basically I don't feel good unless they feel good about me. That's a very unhealthy pattern that a lot of I had this very very strongly growing up, and I'm still working out layers of it for sure. So that's a big part of it as well. But ultimately, it comes down to self love, self acceptance, and just owning who you are, and you know, getting out of your head, getting into the body, and just it's a big part of the sexual kung fu work. Sad Bros says, do you have any affirmation you use or think about when you ejaculate? No, I don't. I'm not a really big affirmation type of person. Like words don't have as strongly as an effect on me. You know what I mean? Like I'm, yeah. I'm more of a just different, just different. But no, I've never used an affirmation when I'm ejaculating. But it would be an interesting thing to do, other than, "Oh yeah," that's my affirmation. "Oh yeah." I howl like a wild beast when I climax. I probably do though. I have many times, certainly. Okay. Oh, Anikutin says, how does the microcosmic orbit transmute Jing into refined chi to balance the body's internal elements in sexual alchemy? Well, my understanding of this, I mean, I guess this has been one of my challenges with the internal arts, where there's all this language and this theory, blah blah blah, and that's cool. But ultimately, there's the experience of it, and that's what I can really offer is the experience. Like, I'm not a huge like, yeah, I've read tons of text, tons of books, tons of even like the classical text, and like, yeah, there's a lot of like terminology and things, but like, ultimately, these things are just words. Ultimately, transforming, microcosmic orbit, turning the Jing into Chi are words, right? And what I can tell you from my own experience, because obviously I feel the perineum, the Huyin, is this area of heat. In some of the alchemical practices, what's the term? I think it's the ding or the lu. I forget, the cauldron, which sometimes refers to the lower dantian, sometimes actually refers to the perineum. I think it's the ding, where it starts to bubble and heat. You'll feel this, and it's a very tangible thing when you have this going to where the perineum, it starts to feel like a furnace in a certain sense, and there's this bubbling, and you start to bring, there's Jing stored in the perineum, and there's also Jing in the testicles. So this starts to heat up, and you start to feel it. You can move it. I mean, you can move it in the dantian. That's part of building the dantian, is getting that energy in there from the perineum. But also, you can bring it up. I teach this in the dantian building course, which I have on my website, which is a really important part of internal cultivation practice. It's the dantian formation, which is a process. And so it starts to heat up, and also maybe move it up my spine. Maybe something even more practical when I'm just doing the microcosmic orbit, when I'm doing like testicle breathing, orgasmic breathing, dragon breathing, where it all happens together. Um, I f- my first one of my first steps is just activating the energy of the testicles, and it starts to warm up. It's like some of the Montauk Chia books are like, the energy should feel cool. The testicles. I never felt cool energy in my testicles, and for years I was like, oh, I'm doing this wrong. And then I just realized, well, it's just my experience of it. This is what's happening in my body. So it starts to warm up, and then I feel it activate, and then by guiding my mind, the energy starts to move, and I feel it moving, and then I may guide it to a certain area. Maybe I take it into the pineal gland, and I start to feel something kind of in very long seated sessions. Over time, I can feel something crystallize. So it's like something's started out here, it warmed up, it moved. So now this same feeling is moving. This thing that was down here transformed a little bit. It moved in this pathway, and now it's here as heat. But in certain sessions, it starts to like kind of crystallize. It goes from like this misty, almost fiery heat to a like crystalline, cool, compact thing. So that's my experience of it. And when I look at the text and I read the text and like, okay, this is what these guys are saying, there seems to be some correlation because Jing, supposedly physical essence, kind of a more dense thing, it warms up. There's all this terminology of like the cauldron cooking in alchemy practices. So, okay, it warmed up. There was this bubbling sensation in my perineum. It's all tangible. This is all tangibly felt. I'm not imagining anything. I'm not visualizing anything. And then I feel that move along the pathway of the spine, and it crystallized here, cooled down, and like became this almost like a crystal, subtle, but like a definite feeling of solidity as I've developed my awareness of what's happening in my energy body. So, um, how? I don't fucking know. All I know is that the interaction of my mind and my body create this experience. And that's what happens. I mean, I guess the how is the practice. You're doing the thing. It's just like you're interacting with elements. Just like you physically in the external world, you take an ice cube and you put it in a pot, and then you heat that pot up. You put fire under it. So a certain form of water, this dense we could say Jing form of water, and then there's this fire underneath it. We could even say that the ice cube is our sexual energy sitting in the testicles, which is at this dormant, dense state. And then the fire underneath that is the mind. It's the awareness. It's the mind. It's the steady breathing, even like the certain alchemical breathing techniques you start to use. And that starts to melt the ice cube into liquid. And then as it heats it more and more, it starts to turn it into a steam. And then that steam is going up the channel, which is in place to make these things, to guide these things through the microcosmic orbit. So it's your mind, it's your sexual energy, it's the channel in place, your awareness, your intention, your steadiness of mind. You're not thinking about random shit. So all these things come together in your practice to make this thing happen. So I guess that is the how. There you go. Alchemy 101. That's right. This is what I do in my spare time. I fucking cook energies and blast them up my spine. It's pretty fun. And it's better than drugs, let me tell you. Pour the dandelion root. The last little section of the Q&A here. Where are we at? Mohit Sharma is saying, hello, I would like to know one thing. When I masturbate but don't ejaculate, but at point of orgasm, I shift my focus to various chakras of my body and enjoy orgasm there. Am I correct? I mean, this is one way to do it for sure. Like if you're not actually ejaculating, you're just like building up arousal to a high level, and then you put your awareness somewhere. Yeah, that's a basic sexual transmutation, sexual circulation technique. So yeah, you're definitely on the right path there. There's different like specific techniques that I teach to intensify and refine this process, but overall it is really simple as that. It's like you put your mind there and it goes there. But there can be a degree of opening up the body to really make that process smooth and efficient and constant, instead of just like occasionally it works and sometimes it doesn't. OBT, doing some shamanic energy, shamanic work. Excellent. I mean, ultimately, all this stuff, I've been doing a lot of research, studying history, esoteric history, like a lot of buried information. Man, our I'm not going to go into the fact that we've been brainwashed to a lot of bullshit history, and it is what it is. It's fine. But basically, these practices are in our past, in our ancestral line, in our genetics. You go far back enough, all indigenous people, which all of us had indigenous origins, you know, they had these types of practices. They were working with life force, whether it's the, various tribes in Africa, the South American shamans, Mayans, Aztecs, the Nordics, the Vikings. They had their own esoteric practices. The runes, all this stuff was kind of post-Atlantean potentially. The Celts, the Druids, obviously the Chinese. It's everywhere. It's all over the world. It just some of it survived history, and some of it got raped and pillaged and burned by governments and churches and all kinds of things. So it's like it's all there. We're just kind of putting the pieces back together. Fortunately, though, the Chinese system seems to be the most intact. Everything else has a lot of missing pieces. So fortunately, something made it through.